Imagine this. You've been thrust back into the Qing dynasty, and you are not some noble hero or wealthy merchant. No, you are a condemned criminal, and in less than an hour you will endure one of the most horrifying punishments ever devised in Chinese history. Lingchi, the death of 1,000 cuts. Right now, your wrists are bound with coarse hemp rope so tight that your skin is split and raw, angry welts burning violet across your flesh. Your bare feet are pressed against uneven slabs of cold stone, the morning chill seeping into your bones like icy needles. Around you, the everyday sounds of a bustling city rise and fall, a cart driver shouting in the distance, the sharp tang of raw fish from the nearby market blending with the greasy aroma of fresh fried cakes. These familiar scents and sounds, things that would normally mean life and warmth, now feel like poison. Because you know that in just 1 hour this place will transform into your execution ground, the public stage. When justice becomes a spectacle, the execution site is set in the busiest part of the city, Shizupalu Street, a crossroad where all walks of life gather. Today the local authorities have fenced off an open square with rough wooden barricades. As you're dragged through the crowd, you hear women whispering, their eyes darting like knives. Children perch on their father's shoulders, pointing at you, giggling. They don't understand what's about to happen. To them, you're just the warm-up act to some grotesque street performance, a blood-soaked theater show. The execution platform looms ahead, a 2-meter-high wooden stage that still smells of freshly cut timber. In the center stands a crude wooden cross, its rusted iron rings waiting for your wrists and ankles. Below, the townsfolk crane their necks for a better view. Some even bring stools, eager to claim the front row seats. You remember the murmurs from the prison last night. Tomorrow's the ringleader of that rebellion, someone said. They say he's getting the 1,000 cuts. To them you are no longer a person. You're just meat, a living body about to be dismantled piece by piece. Then you see him, the executioner. He's dressed in a black short jacket, a leather scabbard at his waist clinking with metal. Your eyes fix on his hands' thick, calloused knuckles, palms hardened like old leather, and a jagged scar running deep across the base of his thumb. The mark of a man who has sharpened and used blades his entire life. He gives you a grin, his teeth stained yellow by tobacco. There's no trace of pity in his eyes. To him, you're not a human being. You're an animal on the butcher's block. The executioner kneels beside a bamboo basket, filled with knives, each blade glinting under the pale sunlight. The metallic chill of it all hits you harder than the cold morning air. You suddenly remember something you once read. Lingchi, this grotesque craft, wasn't even codified into law until the chaotic 5 dynasties period. If you'd been unlucky enough to face this punishment back in the Song dynasty, you might have been lucky to die after just 8 cuts. The executioners of that era were crude, their blades clumsy. Often, the first few slices pierced vital organs and sent the condemned into a quick, merciful death. By the Yuan dynasty, the law called for 120 cuts, but most executioners didn't bother counting. They would half-heartedly hack away, ending things with a quick beheading just to finish the job. But your luck couldn't be worse. You're in the Qing dynasty, a time when this method of punishment has been honed into a calculated art form. The law is explicit. Rebels, traitors, and those who offend imperial authority must suffer the full 1,000 cuts. Every single cut must draw blood, yet none of them can be fatal. Not until the very last moment. To perfect this cruelty, executioners train for years. They know every vein, every tendon, every layer of muscle in the human body. They know exactly where to slice to bring waves of agony without letting you escape into death too soon. The executioner's voice breaks your thoughts. Do you know why you were chosen for this demonstration? He says, his tone coarse like sandpaper scraping stone. Because your crime is unforgivable, the crowd needs to see what happens to anyone who dares to challenge imperial power. He lifts a small leaf-thin knife from the basket. Its blade is engraved with tiny, cruel patterns that catch the sunlight. This one, he says, almost lovingly, is called the soul cutter. It's perfect for the opening strokes. Don't worry, I'll show you, cut by cut, what it truly means to wish for death but be denied it. The bronze gong crashes with a sound that shakes your ribcage. It's time. Your heart contracts so violently, it feels like a clenched fist, and a metallic taste, iron, raw and bitter, fills your throat. The executioner steps forward, his boots thudding against the wooden platform. With one hand, he presses down on the crown of your head, tilting your face to the crowd. With the other, he lifts the soul cutter, its blade gleaming like liquid ice. The first stroke doesn't take flesh. No, it's worse. With surgical precision, he slides the edge across your eyelid, peeling it back like a flower petal, unfurling in the wrong season. You let out a strangled sound, but it's muted, almost pitiful. That's when you realize, he's already bound your throat tight with oxhide rope. Your vocal cords are crushed under pressure, leaving you only with the rasp of broken breath. Don't scream, he says softly, almost mockingly, as if soothing a crying child. It'll ruin my aim. The second cut lands under your collarbone. You feel the tip of the blade slide under your skin, tracing along the curve of your shoulder blade. Hot blood streams down your neck, dripping onto your chest, and absurdly, it tickles. A wave of gasps and murmurs ripples through the crowd. Some women cover their children's eyes, yet peek between their own fingers, unable to look away. But the worst isn't just the pain, it's the layers of pain. First comes the sharp burning sting of skin parting under steel, then the fiery agony of muscle fibers snapping like guitar strings. Finally, the icy draft as bone is left naked, exposed to the open air. With every slice, the executioner pauses, holding up the piece of flesh he's taken, showing it to the spectators below, as though presenting a rare cut of meat. The motion is practiced, almost theatrical, his hand twisting slightly to let the sunlight glint off the fresh blood. You stare at the dripping red lines pooling on the wooden floor, and for a bizarre moment, you think of your kitchen back home, the soy sauce stains on the old cutting board. A hysterical laugh bubbles up from your throat, but it comes out as a wet gargle. Blood froths at the corner of your lips, mingling with your bitter smile. The sun has begun its slow descent, casting long, jagged shadows across the platform. You glance down, or rather, you try to, and see that the skin and flesh of your chest and shoulders are gone. Your collarbones gleam white, like polished ivory under the thin film of blood. The executioner wipes the sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. Without haste, he selects a new weapon from the basket, a hooked knife, its curve designed for a single purpose: to drag, to lift, to peel. He seizes your wrist and jerks your arm straight, the iron shackles clanging against the wood. The first puncture is quick and precise. The blade slips into the tender flesh of your inner elbow, hooking deep into the sinew. A searing pain explodes, and you try to jerk away, but your limbs are anchored like a specimen pinned for display. "Do you know why I slap your chest?" he mutters, his calloused hand thudding against the center of your sternum. "It's to make your heart tighten, to slow the blood. See how it oozes now, like honey, not wine." You look down at the wound, and indeed, the blood no longer spurts but trickles, slow and deliberate, weaving red rivers over your pale flesh. Even this is calculated, an art of prolonging agony. Then come the flies. You don't know when they arrived, but now they swarm around you, buzzing frantically. Green-headed flies land on your wounds, their tiny legs scratching the raw muscle as they feast. The sensation is maddening, like invisible needles dancing across your nerves. You try to wave them off, but your forearm is now little more than skin clinging to bone. You watch as a fly lands on the exposed muscle near your chest. Its wings vibrate, and the sound travels through your rib cage like the faint tapping of death's fingers. By the time night falls, your body is no longer your own. You've been sliced more than 300 times, each cut deliberately chosen to keep you teetering between life and death. The executioner lights a torch, its flames licking the air, casting monstrous shadows of him onto the wooden platform. In that glow, he looks less like a man and more like a demon stretching his claws. He swaps his thin blade for a broader one, a cowtail knife, its dull edge designed not for clean cuts but for grinding, for tearing. "Don't pass out on me yet," he sneers, splashing a ladle of salt water onto your wounds. The burn is instant, electric, dragging you back into the realm of consciousness with a scream that never fully escapes your crushed throat. "Still 700 cuts left," he says with a casualness that makes your blood run colder than the air. "You know, just last week, a big fellow lasted 5 whole days. We kept him awake by rubbing chili paste into his wounds." He chuckles, the sound like gravel, his screams louder than a slaughtered pig. You want to curse him, to spit in his face, but your tongue is shredded. The metallic taste of blood and iron fills your mouth. Sensing your defiance, he grips your jaw, forcing it open. "You still have that tongue?" he asks, twisting the knife between his fingers. "Should I let you keep it so you can complain to the judges in hell?" Then a flash of steel. The pain hits like a shockwave as he slices through the base of your tongue. For a heartbeat, the world goes silent, replaced by a raw, paralyzing numbness. Blood gushes, warm and thick, spilling down your chin and chest. You catch a glimpse of it, your own half-bitten tongue lying on the blood-soaked planks, twitching like some dying worm, and in that moment, you understand what the old phrase meant. When the tongue is severed, the soul itself collapses. It's not the pain that kills you, it's the hopelessness, the utter realization that you no longer control your own body, your own voice, your own fate. You lose track of the days. Time dissolves into an endless haze of pain, light, and darkness. The final moments blur together, your breath ragged, your vision tunneling, until the only thing you register is the executioner's shadow, raising his blade for the last merciful strike. The blade bites deep into your abdomen. You feel the sudden sickening release as your intestines slip free, coiling like pale ropes across the blood-slick platform. There is no strength left to scream. The crowd that once howled and cheered is gone. Only a few daring scholars remain at a distance, scribbling notes about this historic punishment. You realize, with a clarity that feels almost divine, that you are no longer a person. You are a lesson, a warning, a grotesque exhibit of what power can do when it forgets mercy. History will record this moment, but not for long. In 1905, under pressure from Western nations and the growing tide of domestic outrage, the Qing government officially abolished lingchi. This centuries-old horror, the death of 1,000 cuts, was finally relegated to the shadows of history. But the scars remain. They are etched not only into the pages of history books, but into the collective memory of humanity, a stark reminder of what happens when authority goes unchecked and when human lives are treated as nothing more than instruments of fear. And now, as the story fades, you return to the present. The screen before you is safe and cold, but your hands might tremble, your stomach might churn. That's okay, because the point of revisiting these dark chapters is not to revel in the cruelty, it is to never forget. Never forget that civilization is fragile. Never forget that justice, without humanity, is just another mask for violence.